Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I never really intended on making a YouTube channel. I just published my topical map video at the start of the year, and now I've ended up with like nearly 700 subscribers, I think. And like that video's done like 19,000 views. It's done pretty well. Had a lot of good feedback on it, and had loads of like DMs and comments and stuff saying that I should make some more videos. So here we go. Gonna give this a bash. Today we're going to talk about semantic SEO for e-commerce sites. So we're going to discuss what semantic SEO actually is and how it applies to e-com sites. If you're watching this and you don't have an e-commerce site, there's a large amount of advice that will be relevant to you anyway. So we're going to look at some technical SEO, site structure, obviously very important, a glossary section on our site somewhere, which a lot of you might not be doing. That's what's going to be relevant for affiliate sites too. So make sure you pay attention to that. The semantic content network that we're going to publish on our e-commerce sites, some classic on-page SEO, and some advanced schema too. So semantic SEO applies to all sites. It's not just for e-commerce sites. It's hugely important going into 2024 for e-commerce sites though. Some relatively small changes to your on-page SEO, your site structure, or your content plan can play a huge role. Just to recap, what exactly is semantic SEO? Before we get started on some actionable tips, let's go through what exactly is semantic SEO. So I'm going to say it's a way of doing SEO that strays away from older techniques that focus purely on keywords, like low competition keywords, for example. We're going to provide search engines with meaningful content and metadata. This content is generally based around key concepts or entities and their specific attributes that we're going to get into as well. We define these entities and their attributes, the search engine, use them to organize our products, using the content on our site to draw links between user questions and our products. And also, we make our website easier and quicker for Google to crawl because you'll probably heard Corey talking about cost of retrieval. Generally, easier means cheaper for Google, less server load for Google, which they love, because then they can make more money. So they'll come back to your site more often. You might be listening to this and thinking, this is what I've always done with my e-commerce site. And that's great that you've been following logic that, the people at Google have wanted you to implement. And that's what they've been implementing into their search algorithms. But there's plenty of e-commerce site owners that don't have a background in SEO who might have got into some bad habits. You'll see this all the time, especially with like traditional brick and mortar stores that have got e-commerce sites as well. Maybe they just never really had any habits at all and haven't really been sure how to optimize their online shop. Semantic SEO, it's not just focused on content. Our technical setup and every page on our site to be contributing towards our overall goal of bringing in as much qualified traffic as possible. This will include a major focus on technical SEO, our site structure, and the way we internally link. So first, we're going to look at our technical setup. We can talk all day about technical SEO, so let's focus on the goal. We have two goals with semantic SEO in terms of our website itself: to make it as easy to crawl as possible and make it as cheap to crawl as possible. When it comes to e-commerce sites, Google wants to be up to date with new and trending products. They want to be displaying the right prices and the product specs in the SERPs. So you're going to get crawled more than your average blog probably would do. Like, you think about niche content sites, they kind of publish pages and might go years before they update them. Whereas e-commerce sites, the pages are technically changing all the time as your prices change and you add sales and, not 10% off products across an entire huge category. So that's a good thing. It means that Google's going to be coming back often. That obviously means that we need to make it easy and accessible for Google. So the first thing that we want to look at is being easy to crawl. So we want an optimized homepage for starters. We want an optimized homepage to deep dive into popular or nested categories. So either most popular categories or some that are buried quite deep down the category hierarchy. We want to feature our new or popular or currently on sale products on the homepage so we can push page rank to them and allow them to get crawled easily, especially if they're buried way down in your category tree. And of course, we want to show our latest articles, knowledge-based posts, blog posts, etc., for quick and easy indexing, just like you would do if you had a content site. Next, we want to look at what is optimal in terms of categories. We need to have the right amount of categories for our products. If we have too few categories, that means excessive pagination. So that means too many clicks from the homepage to find our products, which we don't want. So imagine a website that sells dresses and they just had one category called blue dresses with 500 products in. And they show 20 products per page and Google's got to go through page 1, page 2, page 3, etc. to find them all. It's not ideal really for crawlability. And then if you have too many categories, it's going to mean a bloated site with only a few products per category. Equally, if you had millions of categories, you'd be surprised. A lot of e-commerce, you might be watching this thinking no one really does that, but they do. A category for something like blue dresses with 500 products is not enough. But having so many categories that you got something like blue sparkly shoulderless evening dresses with white lines on it, there's going to be too many, so you're going to get a lot of page bloat there. You'd be surprised how many people that run e-commerce sites, when it's not just a kind of new startup and they've used Shopify or something and they're kind of fairly good with tech. You get a lot of people that work in traditional, like I said, brick and mortar kind of businesses where they've maybe had like an actual retail shop as well, and they've got an online shop, and it's someone that doesn't normally deal with the website. You'll often get a Janice that does the bookkeeping as well, and she's come along to add some blue dresses to the website, and she doesn't really understand metadata or categorization properly, and every product that they'll add a category page as well. I've spoken to a lot of e-commerce site owners, seen a lot of e-commerce sites and clients in the past where every product will also have a category for that product. And you ask them why, and they say, we wanted an extra landing page for it. They don't kind of really get it from an SEO perspective properly. So that's why we want to optimize our categories, so it's done right. Next, we want to obviously look at good navigation. To a lot of you, this is fairly obvious. Our main categories and subcategories, like the most popular ones, we want accessible on the navigation bar. So they're always one click away from wherever you are on the site. It shows to Google that they're important because they're linked to you from everywhere. And the same goes for linking down to things like, the blog or the article pages, and then what you would describe as important pages in terms of like, not necessarily EAT, but like important e-commerce pages. Google wants to see like privacy policy, delivery conditions, do you have a returns policy, in terms of service, obviously a contact page like a phone number, an email address, and an address is going to be vitally important. E-com, and your about us page as well, because people want to know who they're actually buying from. Don't just link to your blog where all of your really important top of the funnel content is. Let's say you were a kitchen retailer, you sold kitchens, kitchen worktops, sinks, taps, etc. to people. Having something more like style and advice on the navigation bar with drop downs for inspiration, installation guides, how-to guides, cleaning guides, it's a bit less generic than just having a link to a blog. Next, we're going to look at cost of retrieval. You might have watched some of Corey's videos where he talks about this a lot. So your site needs to be as cheap to crawl as possible in terms of server processing load for Google. They obviously spend millions per year on their servers, and the internet is getting excessively large, especially with AI content. So, if you make it cheaper and easier, then they generally like your site more and they'll come back more. Whoever's want an excellent server response time, really short time in terms of milliseconds, best way that you can do that in terms of not just SEO, but serving your customers is going to have the server in the location where the majority of your customers are. So if you sell products only really to people in the UK, having a server in Los Angeles is probably not so good. It's going to take longer for their pages to load. Obviously, we talked about core web vitals and things like that loads over the last few years. Obviously, it's important. Optimized images, huge on e-commerce sites. You'd be surprised how many people in like the home and garden niche will upload photos they've taken with like a DSLR camera outside. The photo itself is like 3 megabytes in file size. It's so many thousands of pixels wide that it's pointless for the average desktop computer to upload something that big. They've no plugins on WordPress or something like that going on there, and it's obviously like a lot in terms of bandwidth as well. When you're with a host like Kinsta, where you're kind of limited not just by like page views but by actual bandwidth as well, you want to make sure those images are optimized, not just for SEO reasons. Obviously, plugins and things like that with WordPress, the CSS and the JavaScript bloat that you get with that, where every plugin has its own separate JavaScript file. They need combining, minifying, and then the usual culprits: avoid broken links, error 500s, redirect chains. This happens all the time in e-commerce sites. With niche affiliate content sites, most people publish a page and then it'll stay there forever. They don't tend to edit the URL, and if they do, they put a redirect in. But with e-commerce sites, products are often get discontinued, they sell out. You end up with like an absolute mess of URLs. So where a product, especially in tech, where like a product has a new version, take like iPhone or something, a shop might have sold like an iPhone 4, and then when the next version comes out, they'll just redirect it to the new iPhone, and then the new iPhone comes out and they redirect it again. So you end up with this massive redirect chain. So try and stop doing things like that. Just try and make the best and most efficient online shop in the world. If you just cover a few of these basics, it puts you ahead of like 90% of the competition. there's so many sites that do things badly that just doing things like, reasonably well will put you ahead. All right. Next, we're going to look at specifically our site structure. And this is going to be hugely important because for semantic SEO to be effective on an e-commerce site, I think the following areas need to be properly addressed. And we're going to talk about our homepage, our categories, and then our knowledge base in terms of site structure. First, homepage, right? You want to present your main theme and purpose of the site in your heading 1 tag. When Google first indexes your site, or when they, check back to your homepage if you've got an existing website, you want your heading 1 tag to specifically say what you do. E.g., we sell electric bikes and advise our customers on them. Like semantically, Google needs that heading 1 tag to set the theme and purpose for the entire site. So you can't just have it say bikes or latest bikes. Google needs a verb that specifically says what the purpose of your site is. Like, we sell evening dresses for women, something like that. Okay. You can obviously find nicer ways of wording this, but so many e-commerce sites will just have not multiple H1s sometimes on the homepage, and it'll say things like Black Friday sale now on, and that'll be the H1. So without going on too much about that, just get a good H1 in there. That's more than just your brand name, ideally. So anyway, our homepage, like ideally we want to direct Google and users to our most important pages. A well-done homepage with good site structure can rank for more than just its brand name. This is kind of part of our overall semantic goal to associate our brand with the main entity of our online shop. Like, think about the key related entities to your main entity. Are they present and accessible from your homepage? So if you sell bikes, think about those main related entities to bike. It's going to be things like electric bike, mountain bike, road bike. Like, can you access all of those kind of main entities and information about those entities from your homepage? If not, why not? You think about watches and the different kinds of watches that you might have, like smart watches, fitness watches, luxury watches. You're on a website like, I think I looked before, like watchshop.com. You will see those main entities present. They state clearly early on that that is what they sell and that is what they advise their customers on. So we want to do that. And next, we're going to look at our optimized category structure, which we've already touched on earlier. But consider people's search intent massively when building out category pages. As we said, simply having a category called dresses for your online fashion store and showing 1,000 products is poor. A user shouldn't have to click on dresses and then filter down to blue dresses and then filter down by occasion, because generally users want to land on a page that's ideal for their search intent, and then they're going to probably filter by most popular or recent reviews, or do a little filter by something that's in their price range. An example of blue dresses, like a user should be able to click straight into blue dresses. It might not be the best example, but your category structure needs to be mapped out properly when you create a topical map. And if you need any help creating your topical map, either send me an email. My email address is in the description, or check out my other video on the channel. It's like an hour long where I talk about how to make a topical map. So think about this. This is important. Your categories and subcategories need to fulfill the search intent of every commercial nature within the realm that you operate in. So if you want to be dominant online for selling dresses or mountain bikes, you need to fulfill the search intent of every commercial nature in terms of your category structure. So if you sell bikes online, your category structure needs to basically offer Google a landing page for every type or shape of bike that people could possibly be searching for, or brand or purpose of bike. Okay. You use your popular keyword research tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs and look at all the commercial keywords that people are searching for bikes. You're going to need a landing page, pretty much everything. Now, I know your business might not sell certain types of bikes, for example, so it is always dependent on the business. So think back to the purpose of your site. What do you see on your close competitors that also have the same kind of overall business goal as you? What categories do you see on their site? What categories would make it easier for your target audience to narrow down what they need? So like I said, they don't want to land on a page if they're on a slow internet connection on the phone, and then have to apply so many different filters. It's way easier if they were to Google your brand name and what they want, and you already have a category page for that with a collection of products in. So yeah, what categories can be added to avoid users having to use too many filters when landing on pages? And next, for site structure, we're going to look at our blog section, knowledge base, articles, help, how-to guides, whatever you want to call it. It's different across every site. So firstly, we want it on the same domain, not on a subdomain or separate site. We won't talk about what exactly needs to be here just yet, but the mere presence of extra content on the site that helps users is going to be essential to getting you more traffic to your e-commerce store. In terms of site structure, we need the knowledge base of articles or the blog to be accessible on the same domain. A lot of people will have like blog.myecommercesite.com, or they'll have it on like a separate site. We want it to be sitting alongside our shop pages, like one click away, like we said earlier. The structure also needs to be well planned out, like you do with the topical map, just like we did with our category pages. So we don't want our important pages being buried. I saw this the other day. I found an online store. They sold fence panels, fencing online. And they had a really good blog, and some of the blog pages ranked really well in like the kind of garden outdoor niche in general. And I checked out their blog, and they just had like a blog roll. They showed 5 of their latest blog posts, and I think there was like over 300. So there was literally like 600 like pages or whatever there was, pagination that you would have had to click through. Google would have had to click through to find everything. No categories or anything. It's really bad. Think about the planning. Like think about how users are going to access those important pages. If they're unsure as to what product they might need when they're buying from you, and you've got that written in your blog section, but it's buried 15 pages deep, they're probably not going to find it, are they? So think about this. Think about your informational pages just as much as you would your commercial pages. So next, we're going to look at defining entities and attributes. This is often covered in like a bit of a glossary section on the site. It could also go in like the article base. Sometimes these entities can get discussed and defined on product pages or category pages. There's no one size fits all. It's going to depend on your shop and how you set the site up. If you don't have an e-commerce site and you do have like an affiliate site, this is still something that you would have to think about. These are what your typical category or route pages would have to be. If you were advising people on what the best mountain bike to buy is, you would still have to do this. So whatever you're selling on your online shop is going to be based around a main entity. So if it's a Cannondale mountain bike, the entity is mountain bike. So mountain bikes obviously have attributes, and they need defining on your website. Frame size, wheel size, handlebar size, they're all examples of mountain bike attributes. Generally think of an attribute as something like the property of an entity, for example. We can't expect Google to rank us quickly or without heavy link building investment unless we have invested the time into feeding them the facts, figures, and definitions that their machine wants. Remember, like, they are just a big web scraper at the end of the day. So if you don't give them anything juicy, they don't care. They want to steal your facts and figures. Think about it like that. So whilst a lot of these attributes, regarding a mountain bike, they might be really obvious to a mountain bike expert who's running their online shop. But to your customers that might not be experienced with your line of work, things are less obvious. So every attribute of every entity product sold on your site needs to be properly defined. So for every type of bike that you sell, their attributes need to be properly defined in order for you to rank well for mountain bikes overall in general, or bikes overall in general. Okay. You can't sell computer monitors, for example, online without stating what resolution and refresh rate are. You can't be successful in getting traffic to your computer monitor store without defining these key attributes and why they matter to your target audience. Like, we're not going to do this just to keep a semantic search engine happy. We're crafting good content for users here too. Like, if someone was coming to buy a mountain bike or a computer monitor, they need things explaining to them. You've got to remember that. We can't have categories of mountain bikes based on frame sizes on our bike shop without explaining what the frame size is or why it matters or what frame size you might need. The same way you can't sell computer monitors and say, this is the best monitor because it's got the best refresh rate, without defining what refresh rate is and stating what audience it's suitable for or why it matters. So your expertise must be displayed in order for Google to send you converting traffic. If you don't display that expertise, you're only going to rank bottom of page 1 or top of page 2. The websites that do it really well, even those that don't have huge link profiles, they're the ones that will rank well. Next is going to be our most important area, which is going to be our semantic content network. So for an e-commerce site to really excel, it must display its expertise across the site, not just in the form of the glossary that we just talked about, with well-defined entities and attributes. We want to position ourselves as the expert in the niche by covering content from all stages in the funnel. So we've got early stage, like top of funnel content. Then we've got like the mid stage where they know the customer knows they need a product in your niche. It's kind of like the evaluation stage, but they're not sure what type of product they might want, which brand is good for them, which type of product would suit them best. And then we've got like the post-purchase kind of content. It's going to be things like follow-up questions you might have. Always good opportunities to try and sell your customers more products, give advice on the products that they have bought. So we're going to look into that now. So top of funnel content, slightly awareness stage, early stage questions. It's before the buyer fully understands your niche or has any expertise in it. This is where you're trying to capture customers. They know they have like a desire or a problem related to your main entity. So you need to give them a solution. Like they might be searching for like, the best method of exercise for people with sore knees, and you might say, don't go jogging, go biking instead. And then they're interested in bikes, and then you can sell them some bikes, okay? Or they might be already aware that they want a bike, but they've got no idea. You're trying to sell them on this bike because it's got a good frame size, and they're like, what's frame size? What's the difference between this bike and this bike? They're kind of window shopping. So content doesn't necessarily fit into, one of these categories that I've defined all the time. Sometimes it's crossovers, but generally like this is the awareness stage. And you kind of move to this like middle of funnel where like they know they want to buy a bike. Like they are definitely buying a bike. And this is valuable traffic to you because this is where like, if you have content that ranks for this, someone wants to buy a bike. And if you've got really good guides that discuss bikes, mountain biking, for example, then you could convert these customers into actual users. So think about things like, best mountain bike for beginners. If you say, look, we sell these 3 bikes and they're great for beginners, there's a high chance that you could convert some of this web traffic into actual customers. Again, customers might have decided that what type of bike they want, but they're not sure which brand is better, similar price points, or they've chosen 2 different models and they're just unsure and they want you to sell them on, the better one. So content under this domain normally is what you would see on an affiliate style site. And then we've got like other types of content. It's like style guides and ideas. Like the customer know, like you're a kitchen retailer, for example. They know they want a white kitchen. They've seen a few that they like, but they just can't quite envisage it, how it will look in their house. So you've got an article on white kitchen cupboard ideas. And then we've got content that a lot of people will skip this step because they think, well, we've already made the sale or it's not going to convert into customers. But that's where they're wrong because, like I said, we want to cover all stages of the funnel to show Google that we know everything about our main entity. So back to some previous examples, like, we might have guides on bike maintenance. So they bought a bike from you, how to look after it, keeping that new kitchen clean, for example, or product specific guides. Like a lot of products, especially in tech, people will buy, and then they'll get like, a little fiddly kind of paper guide to read. It's not ideal. Most manufacturers, they'll have like PDF files, and as you know, PDFs do get indexed and they'll rank sometimes, but a web page will always rank better because visually it's just much more appealing and accessible to people on different devices. And where people think, there's not a lot of point in investing too much time into this content. If you've already got content done that's, higher up in the funnel, this kind of content can often be really good at converting more customers. So maybe if you did sell kitchens, like no one's going to buy a kitchen the next week from you, but if you had some really good content on your site about the kitchen or about looking after it, then it might help you convince, your friend to buy a kitchen from them. Or, if you've got some really good bikes on bike maintenance, looking after your bike, how to change tires and things like that, then there's a chance that the customer will go buy some bike maintenance kits from your helmet or some clothing or whatever, that you're just keeping them around, keeping your brand in mind the whole time. What is the reason for doing this? It's not just to get traffic, but our main focus here is mainly to build up historical data. Like when we first launch our e-commerce shop, we're not going to get ranked for mountain bikes or for electric bikes straight away. They're going to be some insanely, hugely competitive commercial keywords. Google doesn't know anything about us. It doesn't trust us necessarily. But the more we start showing expertise to them early on about our main entity, such as mountain bikes, the better that's going to be. Like it's just going to work way more in our favor. So this content's going to be easier to rank. It's a sort of content that can easily be shared by your brand on social media, turned into videos. Style guides and ideas will do well on Pinterest. Like your how-to guides will naturally get shared on forums and Facebook groups when they're good. It's going to be much easier for you to start leaking traffic into these pages and building up your historical data for these search queries than it is for the big commercial terms. The whole aim of this is to show Google that you have historical data based solely around that main entity. Like I said, you're not going to rank for mountain bike straight away, but a semantic content network focused on mountain bike questions is going to help you rank. And that's for 2 main reasons. Firstly, again, like we've said, the historical data that we're building up, we're marrying our brand and expertise to that main entity that we focus on. Secondly, it's going to be like internal deep linking opportunities. These articles are going to gain natural external backlinks, traffic, and social shares, and we'll be funneling that page rank through to our shop pages and our product pages. So getting some nice product display boxes to showcase your best products is going to work well. So if customers, searching for what kind of mountain bike is right for me, and you've got these really nice product images with like maybe like a price or something, some sort of like widget shown there with your current offerings on, then that's potentially going to work well and help you get some sales early on, where you might not actually be getting organic traffic to category pages. If you are getting organic traffic to these pages, it can, just help you along your journey a little bit better. And think about it, like, this is exactly what affiliate sites do well. Like, they create content and recommend products, except when you're doing it, you're selling your own products. You don't have to worry about crappy 4% commission with Amazon or, another bike store or something like that. These are your products, so you're obviously getting a better margin there. Nearly done. We're now on to on-page SEO, which has been discussed to death over the years. When you think of on-page SEO, you think about title tags, internal links, heading tags, etc. And a lot of e-commerce sites do this well. Like, some sites are just set up well out of the box. From a semantic point of view, though, we need to get a few things in line. It's good to make a topical map, and when doing so, map a main topic or commercial search term to a page and decide on a title and main heading. And that's because some search queries, some keywords that people search in Google, follow the same pattern. So Google can semantically group them together, and a well semantically optimized site will be optimized for the entire group of keywords. So this is why gaps in content and categories lead to your site dropping in rankings, because you're not giving Google that full picture. It can't use you as a source of authority on this entity. So here's an example network of search queries. We've got like red dresses, blue dresses, green dresses. So it's the dress entity with the color attribute modifier in there. We can obviously add more modifiers like the price point, occasions, purposes, demographics, audience, etc. So cheap green dresses, designer green dresses, that's the price point. Green dresses for prom, green dresses for bridesmaids, going the occasions and demographic there. Green dresses for wedding guests, or blue dresses for wedding guests. So you can see how Google groups these keywords together as being semantically tightly related. And you can be creative with your e-commerce store to cater for these query networks by creating a good query template. So what do we mean by that? The dress example goes from being quite generic, like dresses, like a main category, quite specific, like a subcategory that's nice and granular. So you want to be mapping your title tags across these category pages. So I'd say choose a format and standardize it across the query network. Include a predicate, which is a verb to highlight to Google the purpose of your page. So you're not informing people about green dresses. You're letting Google know straight off the bat that you sell green dresses. So some example titles might be shop for designer red dresses for prom, brackets free delivery, shop for designer red dresses for any occasion, brackets free delivery. The specific verb in the title tag spells out the intention of our page at the earliest possible moment in the HTML document. There's going to be no confusion here. For a semantic search engine, this page is selling designer dresses. It's really obvious. Now, why do we do that? It's because there's going to be no confusion here. Like, the last thing we want to do with our website is confuse Google. The more specific, obvious, and predictable we are to Google, the better. I think we said that here. Being predictable means being reliable. Reliability is essential for shopping traffic. Next, we want to look at headings. So headings on the page can be templated with tightly related entities, attributes, and modifiers. I went and searched for like red gowns or red evening dresses or something like that in Google and picked out like the top 3 ranking websites. And like the little bit of content that they had in addition to their products on the category pages were things like when to wear a red dress, popular styles for red gowns, how to style your red evening dresses, materials used in designer red dresses. You can see those like main entities you got in there and closely related terms, like they got like the when, the where, styles, gowns, how to style again, materials used in designer red dresses. So they got those closely related terms in there. And we're not aiming to like duplicate this content across all of our category pages. Like, we're just making it efficient for Google to crawl and digest. So obviously, like, the content is going to change. I wouldn't advise you putting like boilerplate content and changing the color from red dress to green dress. Like, it obviously has to change because the purpose and things like that is going to change along the way. We're just making it easy and efficient for Google to crawl and digest. And obviously the text that sits below each of these headings, that's going to be our opportunity to get in more related entities, advice for customers, and internal links. And the same with FAQs at the bottom of the category pages. It's ideal to link across to our knowledge base of articles. Like, this is going to be great. It's going to be how we pass our knowledge around the site. We don't want to go and write like 2,000 words. Like, everyone kind of went mental with this a few years ago because kind of thought, oh, Google doesn't like thin content, so let's add a 2,000 word essay to the bottom of our category pages. It's like, keep it pretty simple. I've got an example here. It is actually quite a long one. I think I searched for like protein powder. Myprotein.com ranked really well, so you can see how they've like templated this. They've got key entities in there like benefits, shakes, food. They've linked to some of their popular products. They've got FAQs where I said like they link across their guide pages here. Got some other entities in there like women and muscles, keto. So again, good opportunity to get those related entities in there without going too over the top and getting some internal links in there. And finally, we want to talk about schema. Originally in like 2020, I made an entire course on advanced schema and just never really marketed it or did anything. So I'm probably going to release some of those videos on the channel in the next few weeks. So you'll see kind of a bit of a preview of this now. So what I've said here, I've said no semantically optimized website is complete without schema. Schema for an e-commerce site is basically a requirement these days because e-commerce sites are often a mess, like we've said. Like, schema helps Google make sense of that mess. Google can't click on drop-down menus when it's on a product page to get to the right prices for your different variants of products. You know, if like your blue product is more expensive than your red product, like Google can't really tell that straight away when you have one page catered for the two variants. Whereas the schema that we display to them in the code states the name of each product and the price. And product schema is really important. It was from like I think it was like 2021 onwards, because if you've got your product's schema marked up properly with including the images, you can show like the price, the availability, delivery costs, and things like that. And Google will show that in Google Images. Like if you go and Google black bridesmaid dresses, for example, in Google, you'll see a bunch of products there at the top. They've got a little kind of tag on. And then when you click on it to enlarge the photo, it'll say the price, the brand name of the store. So again, it's basically really free, easy traffic, really good opportunity. Where are we going to use this schema? Because people just kind of sort of neglect it, or they kind of do the bare minimum. So we're going to want organization schema on the homepage to sculpt and define our entity, which is our business. If you have like actual retail stores around, then they can have a page each with local business schema on there, giving customers like address, phone number, etc., opening hours. So that's going to be really useful. It's kind of showing Google that you are 100% legit. We want person schema for our author pages. Like e-commerce sites are often just quite anonymous, but if we've got a knowledge base of content, glossary, advice, articles on there, then we want an author, even if it's like the business owner or something like that. Someone like that that's marked up. It's just putting a face to the brand, isn't it? So we're going to mark up their author pages. We're going to get some really good stuff on there, like the knows about property and alumni of and things like that, so that we can show Google that they have their EAT. Obviously, some article schema for our knowledge base and glossary and guide pages, because we're going to stuff some entities in there. It's going to be good. And then we've got offer catalog or item list schema for category pages. This is usually neglected. Product schema for products, and obviously if a customer has left a review of that, we can mark that up with review schema, so it will show the nice golden stars in the search engine results pages. Most of this is fairly straightforward, but the advanced schema comes into play where we interconnect these schema templates with their unique ID values. So we need to be using the about and the mention properties in article schema and linking it to our definition pages to show that we are the source of that definition. Our article schema needs to be linking to the products that we mention in the blog posts. So I'm probably going to do those videos from my advanced schema course from a few years ago on the channel in a couple of weeks. So that's what we just talked about now. And this is an example that's from the course. Like, let's say we had an online store, didn't do mountain bikes this time, but it's like a protein and supplement store. Got a homepage, whey protein category, a vitamins category, and then a couple of products nested in each of those categories. And these white pages are other pages about us, contact us. And then let's say this was a guide on weightlifting that was on our blog section. Here's how we might mark it up with schema. So the weightlifting article would have article schema in there. The homepage would have our organization schema. The homepage would use the has offer catalog to link down to our categories. The category pages would have item list element schema, where they list each individual product that is under that category. So it links to the product pages. The product pages would have product schema on them, and they would use the is similar to property to link across to their similar closely related products and back up to the category that they belong in. For example, our weightlifting article would have article schema on there. It would use the mentions property. If it mentions something like whey protein that we sell on our store to link down to the whey protein category. We have web page schema on our About Us page that would mention the publisher back to the home page and any categories of popular products that we sell. So you can see how advanced schema is much more effective when it's generally all interlinked like that. Kind of see it like invisible backlinks. That's the best way I can describe it now off the top of my head. And a lot of people aren't doing this because they're just installing a schema plugin, and it doesn't really go into this level of depth and detail. So some easy wins here for people if you want to hire me, I'll write you some schema. So we've got a bit of a conclusion here. So again, just going through some stuff. Set your intentions clear with predicates in titles, headings, and text. Structure your site to be semantically tight whilst also being user-friendly. Always have a laser-fast website with low kind of JavaScript and CSS overheads, so it's nice and quick to crawl. Fully define your key entities and their attributes across your entire product range. So don't ever have a customer land on a product page and wonder what X, Y, and Z are. Make sure they are defined somewhere on your site, and that is easy for the user to find. Epic content covering all aspects of your main entity within the context required for your target audience. So remember, if you are a site that sells mountain bikes and you only deal with electric bikes, then a lot of other bike content isn't necessarily going to be relevant to you. So stick to, the context required just for your target audience. It's going to be the people in your industry of the products that you sell. Top-notch on-page SEO and schema. And like I said, semantic content networks covering everything your target audience needs to know about your niche and the products that exist for them to buy. And thanks for watching. If you have like an e-commerce site or a content site and you need some help with it, I currently have a space for a couple of new clients in my SEO agency. So you can send me an email on admin@mnbmarketing.com, or subscribe to the channel if you just generally like me talking about semantic SEO and some kind of modern SEO tactics. We're going to look at some schema and then some kind of semantic SEO principles for content sites too. So yeah, thanks for watching. Drop me an email if you need any help with your SEO, and I'll see you on the next video.